I often get questions like, "What's the best way to do X, Y, Z?" And and this topic can range the of in a very wide expanse. It can be about making money. Hey, Billy, I have a business. What's the best way to go about promoting my business? So, like, how should I do marketing? Hey, Billy, um, I have this promotion that's coming up, and I really want to get promoted. What's the best way to kind of put out the word about my performance, and so that I can gain the visibility? So, there's a lot of things that we want the optimal path for, right? And having the optimal path to things is important because it saves us time, it's efficient, it saves us energy. So those things are valuable. But now, when it comes to your life, right? Not everything has this universal optimal path. In Buddhist lens, it's called no predetermined law, and it's basically saying there's no absolute best way for you to do anything. And the Buddha taught a lot of people about how to be suffering free. But if I'm a person who's really anxious, right? And the advice that I'm gonna get from Buddha to remove my suffering is gonna be different if I'm a very arrogant person and I have a lot of ego. And so the advice that I would get for that situation is again different to if I am nervous and things like that, right? So when you are in a situation where you need to evaluate what's the best way to do XYZ, right? You surprisingly, this is where the video takes a turn. It relates to confidence. So, how does it relate to confidence? It relates to confidence because you have to understand because nobody is subject to the one universal rule. It means you have to do a little bit of finding about what your path is. Now, the optimal path is only the optimal path after you have traversed some paths, right? So suppose you have coincidentally walked an optimal path. If that's the only path you have taken, you have no way of knowing if it's actually optimal or not. Suppose you took a suboptimal path that you get to evaluate later on in your life. You get to know it's suboptimal because you have walked another path and you can see where you could have made improvements in the past. But the thing is, in the past, there's no way you would have known that this is optimal or not. Because why? Everyone's life is different. So even if you have two software engineers, the two engineers can have vastly different personalities and how they like to tackle projects. If you have two life coaches, they can be completely different in terms of how to coach people about their life. If you have two husbands and two wives, they could be having a completely different marriage. So if you have to have the confidence that whatever path you take will eventually, even though it may seem like it's not the optimal path, it'll eventually lead you to what you may reflect as an optimal path. So, are you evaluating what's the best way to do XYZ? Have the confidence to find out yourself by trying. Get advice from me, get advice from all the other YouTubers about the domain expertise you're interested in. Dare to do things, dare to make mistakes. That's the confidence that will get you to the path that you can later on rediscover and redefine as the optimal path because it is the path you have taken.